Hi, everyone. I hope all of you are able to hear me. It will be great if one of you can just confirm in the chat window. So then we'll get started with the session. I can already see a few comments. And yes, this is for the NMAT that was conducted today. So that's what I'm going to be talking about. And yes, I have taken the test. So I took the test in the second slot today, which is the afternoon slot, 12 to 2. And I'll be talking about the things that happened. And if you have any questions, I'll be very happy if I'm able to answer it during this particular session. So it will be great if there is some confirmation from your end. Okay, great. I can see your comments now, and I'm able to see the YouTube chat. So that's what I'm looking at. And any questions that you have, you can post it there. Okay. All right. So let's get started. Just wanted to check, first of all, are there any students who are attending this live who took the test today? So if you have taken the test, you can just enter your score or whatever you want to say about the test in the chat window. And of course, I'll also share my score and all the things that you guys want to know. Okay. Of course, there was one issue, and that I'll talk about. I guess that is something that is getting highlighted a lot. So I'll definitely talk about that score issue that has happened. A lot of students have got crazy scores in the language skills section, which I will talk about. But before that, let's get started with the analysis. And the way I'm going to structure this is, firstly, I'll give you an overview of what happened. I'll also talk a little bit about my test taking experience as to what all things were there at the center. Which will help you to prepare mentally and in terms of gathering any documents or any other things that might be required. And then we'll talk about the individual sections. I'll talk about then the score and then the score issue also. And then I'll talk about the predicted cutoffs. Okay. All right. So, and as I can see, somebody has already shared the score. And as you can see, this particular student has got a very high score in the language section. And of course, I'll talk about that. Okay. All right, so let's get started with the analysis. And firstly, I'm going to talk a little bit about how the test went, right? So overall things in terms of how the test conduct was, the nature of the test and all those things. So let's start with, firstly, it's an adaptive test, right? And I'm assuming that everybody who is attending this session right now knows that it's an adaptive test, which means that the test adapts to how you are performing on the test. If you are doing well on the test, you will start seeing more difficult questions. If you're not doing that well, maybe you're getting a lot of questions wrong, you will start seeing lower difficulty questions. And that is how it was conducted. So it was conducted in the adaptive format, and there was no option to skip questions. So as you would see in IMS mocks also, and in their official mock as well, there is no way you can skip any particular question that you see, which means you have to answer the question that you see on screen, then only you can move forward. So the test interface is exactly the same, the way it is there for the official mock. There is absolutely no change in terms of how the test interface looks. If you click on the next button without answering a particular question, you will see a message, which is you must complete your answer to this question to continue. So you have to answer the question, then only you can move forward. The adaptive format of the test implies that the topic-wise breakup can differ. So in this session, I'm going to share the breakup that I had and a few other fellow faculty members from IMS had. That does not mean that you will also have the same breakup. So the breakup of the individual areas from which questions are appearing can change. So that is something that you will have to factor in. But overall, we're going to talk about what was the number of questions in the individual areas that we and a few other faculty members had. Okay. So there would be variation. So don't take it to be the exact number of questions. The instructions for the test clearly mentioned that unattempted questions at the end of the section would attract a penalty. If you are not able to complete a section, you will get a penalty in that section. What is that penalty? Nobody knows. They have never revealed it, but it was clearly written in the instruction. So if you had gone through the instructions at the beginning, you would have noticed that it is written that there is a penalty for not completing the individual sections. Okay, so these are some of the things in terms of overview. Now the test structure, there was no change. They have always communicated that well in advance. So no surprises on that front. In every section, you had 36 questions, total 108 questions to be attempted in 120 minutes. The individual time limit was 28:50 for quant and logical skills respectively. Okay, an option to decide the section attempt order was presented. So the way it is for the official mock, and even in IMS mocks, you can do that. You can decide in which order you want to take the test. That was there. So you could decide, I want to do language first, then quant, then LR, or you could have said LR first, font, then language. So there's a drag and drop, by the way. Okay, so what you see is it's not like a bulleted list given, radio button kind of a thing. It's a drag and drop. So on the left hand side, you will see section names. On the right hand side, you will see blanks. You have to drag and drop the order in which you want to take the test. It's a fairly simple, intuitive thing that is there. Just want to add a little bit about how the test went at the center where I took it. So initially we were asked to, you're supposed to report 45 minutes in advance. So that's what we did. 12 o'clock was the slot. So I reached the center by 11:15. There were quite a few students. I was surprised to see so many students on day one. I always tell people not to take it on day one for various reasons. I mean, there could be technical glitches the way it happened today. There could be changes in the difficulty of the test or the composition of the question. So that's why attending sessions like these, where I'm talking to you about the test format and everything, is important, so that you are mentally prepared as to what to expect, right? So I think they took us in at about 11:40 or so. So the guy took a photo on the camera. So there was no like a proper setup or something. There's a regular camera. So took a photo, I think uploaded on some interface that they had. And then a password is given, right? The password is basically when you sit at your desk, you're supposed to enter your NMAT by GMAC ID, and then the password that that person will give you so that you can log in. Just wait for them to give that instruction as to when you are supposed to log in. Okay, so a lot of people were in a hurry or something, so they tried logging in initially, not really required. We were given 2 rough sheets. So again, I'm talking about the center where I was. So 2 rough sheets were given, A4 size, and 1 pen was given. So though the pen was given at my particular center, please ensure that you carry pens with you. Okay, so wherever you have your test center, just make sure that you carry your pens, whatever writing material that you have, carry a bottle of water, preferably a transparent. Analog watch will generally not be allowed, but just in case, these are the things that are like standard things. You carry it with you. If they don't allow you to take it in, that's okay, right? But just carry it so that you're not in a situation where you're asking somebody else for a pen. Luckily here, they provided the pen, and the rough sheets were again given. And then we were asked to log in like 5 minutes in advance. So 11:55, we were asked to log in for the 12 o'clock attempt. Then there was that standard instruction thing that you have to go through. Now, interestingly, they had provided us with the ear plugs. Okay, so ear plugs, right? So disposable ear plugs were given to us. And I was very surprised to see it. This is the first time in NMAT that I've seen disposable ear plugs being given again at any of the centers. So maybe at your center, they might give you or might not give you. Again, that depends. But they were there. So just in case you want to block out the noise, etc., you can use those. Though I tried using it in the beginning for 5 minutes, kind of got distracted a little bit. So I was like, I'm not used to it. So let me keep it aside. So that was a change that I noticed. Otherwise, it's like a standard, the way they conduct any other test. Post-test, they took all the rough sheets. In total, I needed 4 rough sheets. So 2 plus 2 is what I asked them. So 4 rough sheets is what I needed in total for the entire paper. And then we submitted the rough sheet, and they give you the admit card back. So don't forget to take it back. It's written on the admit card as well that you're supposed to take it back. So take the admit card back, take it with you when you come back. And then we're done with the test. The only issue, of course, was the score, which I will talk about later. Okay. So let's now get into the individual sections. I attempted sections in this particular order, and that is why I'm going to cover it in that order. Somebody else could have done something else, right? So quantitative skills, I have 1 word, first of all. Again, those of you who have taken it, I can see there are a few people who have reported their scores in the chat window. Let me know how you found the test, okay? How you found the quantitative skill section, because personally, I found it to be very lengthy. I found that for a lot of questions, it's not a one-line question that you will see. I mean, of course, you will see a lot of one-liners, but there were a lot of questions wherein it was either 2 lines or 3 lines, and there was a lot of information. So just to give of course, I cannot share questions with you, but just to give a sample. So somebody sells a particular product at a particular mark price, but gives a X% discount on it. Right? Then there's another product which is sold at a Y% discount. On the first product, you make some percent profit, but not given in the form of percentage, but given in the form of the absolute value of the discount. On the second case also similar, but there is a loss this time. And then the summation of the first mark price and the second mark price is given. And now you have to calculate the cost price of the first one. So fairly calculation intensive. There are a lot of questions which were pretty irritating, I would say, outright irritating. So let me talk about the individual areas now. Modern maths, dominant section, I think dominant area, 3 probability, 3 P&C, 2 logarithm question, one of which was very, very irritating. I took a guess on that question. I didn't really solve it, but I had to guess because I was running out of time. 2 questions on progressions. I had one question which was very, very irritating again. I took a shot at it, didn't really, I mean, it was, I wouldn't say a typical GP question or a typical AP question. So it was sort of something very different. I decided that there was no point wasting on it. I did some substitutions and thought that something will be the answer, just went with it. So there will be a few questions wherein you will have to take that shot, maybe a leap of faith that I think this is the answer, let me mark and move on, because otherwise I may not be able to finish my paper. So I think I finished with some 30 seconds to go. So I was able to complete my section with about 30 seconds to go. That's it. I waited for that clock to reach almost like the 5 seconds to go. So that took that 20-25 second pause at the end of math because it was intense, I would say. Arithmetic, the SICI questions were fairly straightforward. Anybody who has done SICI could have solved them. Percentages, time and work, partnerships, profit loss, most of them were doable. But as I said, some of the questions were lengthy. So you have to persist, right? You have to decide whether should I really sit and calculate this or do I want to take a shot and just move on. Numbers, again, 2 questions, nothing much to talk about. 1 question from algebra, 1 from algebraic formulae. Nothing very difficult, but number properties. For example, you have to know perfect squares don't end with what. So there was a question that I had. If somebody had known that a perfect square does not end with particular digits, then it would have become easy. So not knowing number properties will hurt a lot of people in case they get more number properties question. Let's talk about DI, because DI is something that has been, again, calculation intensive on NMAT. I had 2 sets. First set that I had was a combination of bar graph and a line graph. Revenue, expenditure on a particular area, and then total expenditure and percentage profit is what we had to calculate. So combination of bar and line, which made it a little difficult. Where it really, I would say, became a pain point was the values were not friendly. Now, what I mean by friendly values, let's say you have to calculate maybe 40% of something, right? If it is a number which is ending with a 0, it becomes very easy, right? But if it is a number which is, let's say, something like a 33, now finding 40% of 33, a lot of people will have to multiply. That is where the issue was. So to calculate a lot of things, and then only you solve the entire set and then move forward. Okay. So I think on that first set that I had, there were 6 bars, if I'm not wrong, 5 or 6 bars. So approximately 6 plus 6, 18 calculations is what I had to do, right, to answer the entire set. The second set was a table, and it was completely percentage change values. Again, 7 rows and 2 columns. But there was third column which was not given. So technically, there was a third column that had to be calculated. So again, looking at that, the computations would have been 7 plus 7, 14 plus another 7, 21. So a lot of computations and calculations were needed. Regarding data sufficiency, again, it's a mixed bag. So I had majority of the questions from numbers and arithmetic. I think only 1 question was irritating. Otherwise, data sufficiency was manageable. Again, as I said, the distribution of the questions can change for those of you who are going to take it in future. So don't take that distribution to be the exact thing. Overall, at the top, the line that you see, problem solving 24, DI 8, DS 4, that will remain more or less standard for everyone. Okay, but the distribution of the questions can change. Again, overall, if I want to comment on it, I would just say that it was lengthy, a lot of calculations. So you have to practice those, and you have to practice difficult questions. Okay, you cannot assume that the questions are going to be easy. I think that is where IMS mocks are very good, because a lot of quant questions are difficult. So you get used to it. But yeah, regarding the score, of course, I'll talk about it later. Logical reasoning, again, I can see a lot of you also written regarding difficulty and so on. So if there's any specific comment, if anybody wants to make, you can do that. Let's talk about logical reasoning now, the second section. So 21 questions on verbal reasoning and 15 on non-verbal. Slight change from what it was previous year. I think there were 24 verbal reasoning and 12 non-verbal reasoning questions. So in a way, I think good thing that non-verbal reasoning questions have gone up slightly. Okay. Pretty much everything is assumptions, conclusion, strong, weak argument, course of action, facts, critical reasoning. So that is syllogism. So that area, everything is just reading and then taking a call as to what the course of action should be, or the assumption is, or the conclusion is, or implicit, what is implicit there, or which argument is strong or weak, or if true would weaken, if true would strengthen, those kind of questions. So you'll have to practice critical reasoning a lot. It becomes a little difficult to handle it sometimes because those paragraphs are also 3 to 4 lines or even 5 lines, so that you have to read it carefully, then only you can answer those questions. So one of the main reasons why people are not able to score very high on critical reasoning is because you're not reading it carefully. So you will have to improve this particular thing, right? Critical reasoning, very, very important for NMAT. Regarding arrangements, so I had only one set and 5 people studying at 4 universities and doing 5 specializations. Very simple, manageable set. And there was one standalone arrangement kind of a question. Sequential output was painful. I'll just go, I'll be completely honest with you guys and say one set of input output I have blindly marked because I could not figure out the logic. When I say blindly marked, I took some intelligent guesswork. Okay, I looked at the question and thought, okay, the answer could be between this and this, so let me mark this. If there were 2, I just went with one of them. I don't know how exactly it turned out. But then out of sequential output, 2 sets, one set was very, very easy. I was able to, I think, answer everything correctly on that. The second one, I could not crack the logic because it was not consistent logic. So if you have 6 things in the input, for the first place, there was some logic. For the second place, there's some other logic. For third place, there's some other logic. So that is where the problem was. I thought I spent some time on it, was not able to crack it. I thought it's best to leave that and focus on the next set of questions. Logical and numerical puzzles weren't too difficult. There was something on the 4 numbers given and a central number is given. And there are 3 such instances given to you. For the 4th instance, you have to identify which number will be in the center. Fairly doable. So that's what the overall review of LR was. Very similar to what it has been in the previous year. Very similar to what you see on the official mock and on the IMS mock. Nothing too different from it. Okay. Dominated by critical reasoning. So you have to make it your strength. And the second largest thing which will appear is, of course, going to be arrangements and sequential output. So you will have to practice a lot of these input-output questions. Okay. Let's move to the next section, which is the language skills. Again, no surprises, 8 questions on reading comprehension and 28 questions on verbal ability. By the way, in case you have taken the NMAT official mock 1, when I took it, I got 3 RCs there. But in the actual test, there were 2 RCs. Okay, so mentally be prepared for 2 or 3. That's all I would say. Though pretty much everybody that I had a discussion with said there were 2 RCs. You never know. Okay, so just to be safe, I would say mentally be prepared for 3 RCs. On the official mock, I think there are 3 RCs. So 2 RCs appeared in the test today. Verbal ability, 28 questions. The 2 passages, typical length was about 4 to 5 paragraphs in each of those passages. I think there was one on architecture and I completely forgotten the other one, but slightly intense to read. I would not classify them as very, very easy. I would classify them as moderate. Okay. So if you're somebody who is very good at verbal, you should be able to manage it comfortably. If you're not, you'll have to struggle a little bit to read through those RCs. Okay. Questions, some of them were direct, some of them were inferential in nature. The other part, parajumbles, was manageable. Either you had 4-sentence parajumbles or 5-sentence parajumbles. Okay. But anybody who has, let's say, prepared for CAT or NMAT or any other test, you know how to handle parajumble questions. Analogies, I again had a tough time doing analogies because they're very, very close. So first of all, it's vocab based. So you have to know a lot of those words to answer that question. And then because they were very, very close, in some cases, you have to take a call that maybe this is better than something else. So you mark that as the answer. But they were very, very close. The only way you can get better at it is practice. So solving more questions of analogies and of vocab will help you. Fill in the blanks was 6 questions on vocab. So you have to have good vocab to do those. And then 4 questions on prepositions. Now the preposition questions are much easier to handle. And they appear as like there are three sentences. So the options are also like A, B, C, D, E, F, that kind of a thing. So it's manageable. Fill in the blanks questions are preposition based, at least can be managed by anybody. Spot the error. Again, 6 questions, which is like a fair bit of questions there. And 4 underlined parts, you have to identify which part has the error. The 5th option was constant, there is no error. Okay. So that's what the entire section was. I found it very similar to last year in terms of difficulty. Don't really see cutoffs changing too much. Of course, we'll have to wait and gather more data. Once more people have taken the test, we'll know if there could be any changes in the overall cutoff. Okay. All right. I can see somebody has got a 520 on 360. So I'll talk about that now. Okay. So let's talk about the score bit. Now, once you submit the test, immediately on screen, you see your score, right? And people were in for a shock when they saw verbal scores more than 120. So there was a glitch in the language skills score. So once you submit the test, you see your score, and that score was wrong. Okay, score was wrong as in the language skills, there is a score that you see, but that score is some random number, not random, but some number, which is more than 120. So clearly there is some issue that has happened in the backend in terms of how the score is getting displayed. Of course, they'll fix it. We have reported already that issue, and a lot of students also must have reported it. Because of that, what has happened is people have also got scores that are more than 360. Right? So people have got scores of 400 plus or 450 plus, 500 plus, and so on. Of course, the official scorecard can be downloaded from the dashboard. Right now, if somebody has taken the test and is downloading the scorecard, you will see the scorecard with that wrong score. When they will fix it, we don't know, but of course they will fix it. So don't worry about that. All of you who have taken the test today, right, need not worry about that particular thing. They will take some action on it, corrective action. Maybe they will re-release the scorecard or I don't know exactly what they will do, but of course they will do something about it, because clearly people scoring 400 out of 360 is not how it's supposed to be, right? So that's what it is. Somebody who has written 520 out of 360, if you can just share your split for the benefit of others, it will help people to understand how you have performed on the test. Okay. Now let's talk about the cutoffs. So with respect to cutoffs, I don't see a lot of changes happening. Again, this is from day one, and we'll have to wait maybe till mid-November, wherein we'll have more data so that we can look at the distribution and say, okay, this could be probable cutoff. Right now, the only thing that I'll say is quant is an area where I think there could be some change. Okay, could be. LR and LS, because they are very similar to what it was previously, don't really see major changes happening. But quant, there could be some impact this time because it has become lengthy, it has become calculation intensive, which will certainly impact the score a little bit. But yes, we'll have to wait for some time and see how exactly people are scoring. Okay. All right. Any questions? Anything that you want to know? Let me just go through the chat and see if there are any questions that I can answer. I'm getting a score of around 190 to 200. Is it an average score for IMS NMAT? It depends on the test. In some tests, and we have released the benchmarks, right? So for all the NMAT mocks that we have released benchmarks. You can look at that and then see how you have done. I've forgotten to register for the NMAT. Please do it now. So it's still open. The deadline is supposed to be 10th October. So as I'm doing this session right now, it's still open. Please register it. And by the way, you have to book your slot before 12th. So don't lose sight of that. You have to book your slot whenever you're going to take it, whether October, November, or December. You have to book your slot before 12th. So don't forget to do that. Okay. Any other questions? What was my score? Okay, of course, it's something that is incorrect because of that language skills score issue. I got a 500 and something. I'll not tell you what exactly it is, but of course, it's a wrong score. So we'll have to wait for the official score to come. What about the question was missed due to a time? So there is a penalty, right? So as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, if you don't complete the section, if you're not able to answer all the questions in the section, there is a penalty. The exact amount of penalty is something that we don't know. Okay. What are the marks for each of the questions? There is no such thing as marks for each of the question because all of these are scaled scores that you see. So there's no way to figure it out. Your score is a function of how many questions you got correct and what was the difficulty of those questions. So the more difficult questions you answer correctly, the higher you will score. What shall we expect if you're giving the exam from home is Shruti is asking. So when you're taking it from home, there is, first of all, the compatibility check that your system has all the requirements that you need to take the test from home. There will be a proctor at the other end. That person will ask you to give a 360 view of your of the room in which you're taking the test. And you have to keep your microphone on throughout the test, your video as well as your microphone. And I think you can sit with rough sheets. That is something that they will inform you as to how many rough sheets you can have. But otherwise, it's a similar to like a test center attempt, with the only difference being you're taking it from your home. Okay, I would encourage people to take it only if you have strong internet connection and you have the electricity is generally uninterrupted at your place. Is there is the level of difficulty too high? Is what Seher is asking. For quant, yes, very calculation intensive, I would say. But see, what happens is some questions you will have which are direct questions, right? So the probability of X passing the test is so much, Y passing the test is so much. Give an answer as to at least one of them passes the test, right? So it's a direct probability question. But then, as I shared one of the representative questions some time back, that two products, different MPs, different percentage profit loss, different CPs, sum of CPs given, sum of MPs is given, and so on. It's a fairly calculation intensive thing. Okay. So some questions will be fairly difficult, I would say. Okay, I can see a lot of scores, 438 out of 360 and some another 400 plus. Okay, a lot of people I think are there where you got like a 360 plus or a 400 plus. How many questions did I attempt in quant properly? I think I attempted most of the questions properly, but maybe one progression question, one logarithm question, I just took a shot, as I mentioned. DI, I was able to calculate everything, so I don't think I took any chances there. Data sufficiency, you cannot really guarantee. So I would say most of the question I was able to do, with logarithm and progression being the exception. How much time to spend on DI? So I would say overall, if you find yourself spending too much time on something, you might want to increase your pace for the next set of questions. See, 52 minutes, 36 questions is what you have, which roughly translates to 13 minutes for 9 questions. So every 13 minutes, if I'm doing 9 questions, right, I'm doing okay on time management. So if you have a DI set, it might take a little bit more time, but then there will be those other standalone questions. So you solve those and then increase your pace. So as long as you're finding balance, 13 minutes for every 9 questions, I think you should be fine. Any idea how to figure out real language skills score? Ruan, right now, no. There is a theory, but again, it's a theory that if you divide your raw score, if you divide your score that you obtained by 3, you will get how much is your actual score and all of that. But it's a theory. We'll have to wait and see. So let's not get into speculation. They will rectify it, right? It's a score reporting issue that has happened. It's NMAT's responsibility to fix it and then give us the actual score. Will ADMAT workshop questions suffice for quants? Yes, and also your practice exercises, because the question difficulty is slightly on the higher side. So I will say, for those of you who are preparing for the CAT, and other exams with IMS. If you've done your class exercises of quant, you should be fine. If you are somebody who is preparing for us with NMAT SNAP CET, I would say do your class exercise plus practice exercise and then the ADMAT master classes. Okay, we need more NMAT mocks. So we don't have any plans to add more mocks. We already have given 10, which is, in my view, sufficient. Okay, we don't really think you need more than that because you have 10 mocks of IMS plus the official mock and a retake of that, which has a separate set of questions. So technically you have 10 plus 2, which is 12 mocks. 12 mocks for a test like NMAT is enough, okay, because you need the first 2-3 mocks to get used to the format. Once you get used to it, then it's your content which will make a difference to your score. So that is why you have to work on your content, which is through the courseware that has been given to you and the test that you have on your MyMS dashboard. It's not necessarily going to be through mocks. So total 10 plus 2 is more than enough in my view. How similar is the IMS NMAT mock to the real NMAT exam? Okay, so the difference that you'll only find is going to be in terms of scaling, how the score will look on the actual NMAT compared to IMS mocks. Difficulty wise, we try to create something which is very similar to what you see on the actual test. Other than NMIMS, what are the colleges that accept NMAT score? A lot of colleges, KJ Somaya, TAPMI, you have like a long list of colleges. We have given that list in the NMAT form filling guideline. You can go through it. There is a form filling guideline video that we have made. In case you have not seen it, you can watch that. And in the description of that, there is a list. It is also given on the IMS website. So if you go to IMS India website, you will see a list of top B schools. You just search for NMAT, you will find all the colleges that accept NMAT score. Where are the NMAT benchmarks in IMS portal? You will see it on the right-hand side. So when you log into your MyMS dashboard, on the right-hand side in updates, you will see the link to access benchmarks. Okay. How much level of difficulty deviated from the official mock? Not too much. Okay, so the official mock, if you have taken, I found quant to be more difficult in the actual test compared to official mock. So I'm also planning to write a blog post tonight. I hope I'm able to finish it, and we'll release it on that blog tomorrow, wherein I'll talk about the official mock comparison and the actual test, right? But otherwise, I found the language to be very similar, LR to be very similar. Quant I found more difficult on the actual test compared to the official mock. How shall we see the benchmark scores? I've already mentioned it's there in MyMS. On the right-hand side, under updates, you will find it. Okay. All right. Anything else? Approximately what time shall we log in before 30 minutes of exact timing? All of those instructions are given to you in your scorecard, in your admit card and in the dashboard. So if you're taking it from home or you're going to a test center, please go through the instructions that are mentioned and you have to adhere to that. What do I do if I don't know answer to a particular question? If it is not allowed to be skipped, you cannot skip it. You have to answer it. So if you see a question, you don't know the answer to it, you have to mark something and then only you can move ahead. Okay. Your score in quant and LR. Quant is 89. I scored 89 on quant. LR, I got a 101. And verbal, I got a 320 something. Okay, so it's, I don't know exactly what my verbal score is. So we'll wait for that and see how exactly it comes out. Okay. This screen is showing right now is, these are last year cutoffs. Last year NMIMS campuses cutoffs. Predicted cutoff, we'll wait for some more time because we need more data to answer that question. Is it necessary to have 15 days gap between the two NMAT attempts? Yes, it's a mandatory thing. You cannot change that. The system will not allow you to book another thing in that 15-day window. Okay. I gave NMAT mock 1 from IMS portal and scored 180 with CAT preparation ongoing. Need your suggestions on this. Okay. 180 on the first mock, slightly on the lower side. I will say something like a 200 would have been preferred. But it's okay. Maybe the problem is that if it is your first mock and you're not really prepared or you're not used to that adaptive format, it is bound to affect your score. So I got a message from a student today morning that I took the IMS NMAT mock and I got a very low score. I attempted only 15 questions on quant. So that is where the problem is, because a lot of students don't know that if you don't complete a section, there's a penalty. Now, if you attempt only 15 questions on quant, obviously your score is going to be on the lower side, right? So that's why maybe there could be some reasons as to why that score was low in the first one. Once you get used to the format, you will start seeing some improvement. Once you enhance your content, you will start seeing more improvement. So the way to go about it is to take a mock, wait for a few days, improve your content, and then take another mock. Does the level of difficulty differ between the 3 slots? No, there's no such thing like that. So in slot 1, slot 2, slot 3, which is the 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, there's absolutely no change in terms of how the overall difficulties. You see, what happens is it is drawing questions from a pool. So you have to think of it this way, that if you are answering questions correctly, you will start seeing more difficult questions compared to somebody else in your slot. So there's no slot-wise difficulty. Okay. I'm scoring a 205 in IMS mocks. What score to expect in the actual test? Difficult to say. I would say 205 at this stage is okay. You will definitely have to work on getting a higher score, because you know that the NMAT cutoff would range in somewhere in the 230. So it could be 232 or 235 or 230 and all of that. So mentally you have to be prepared for that. I heard NMAT is only for okay. I'm not going to answer that question. It's see, all of these things are generally things that you keep hearing on the web. The only simple take that I have is this, that you apply to a college, you convert it, and then you decide whether you want to join it or not. Which program of SPGen accepts NMAT? So they have a program called Postgraduate Program in Management for Women. It's a program which has a different eligibility compared to the standard MBA program, for which they accept the NMAT score. Does TAPME accept second attempt? I don't think they've indicated anything on that as of now. If we get to know, we'll let you know for sure. Okay. How should we prepare for NMAT for the ones who are taking it in November? My strategy is going to be this, that let's say you're taking it on 15 November, right? So you have roughly about 35 days ahead of you. And I have 10 plus 2, 12 mocks. So every 3 to 4 days, I'm going to take one mock. And then remaining time, I'm going to work on the areas where I'm not doing well. So critical reasoning, quant, it could be vocab, it could be grammar. So you have to figure out where you are lacking and then work on that area. Today is the last date for registration. Yes, that's correct. So please do your registration if you haven't done it. Is difficulty level of IMS mocks higher than official test? In some cases, you might find it more difficult. In some cases, not as much difficult. See, the difficulty fluctuates, right? Even we have a different, or because we don't even know what NMAT algorithm is. Nobody knows that. So anybody, whether it is IMS or somebody else whose mock you may be taking, they have created an algorithm, assuming that to be an algorithm. And there's a scoring mechanism that has been created. So there would be, of course, some changes, right, in terms of how you find the actual test versus the IMS mocks. But we try to prepare you for the worst by giving more difficult questions. Analogies in IMS is very difficult. Analogies on the actual test was also very difficult. So don't worry on that front. How to manage mock SimCAT with NMAT and SNAP schedule or something like that? See, you have to prioritize. I mean, if you're taking NMAT prior to CAT, you will have to finish those mocks prior to NMAT. If you're taking CAT first and then NMAT, you can go a little slow on that front. So it's an individual thing. IMS mocks are very difficult than the official mock. I would say, depending on how you are performing, you're going to see more difficult questions or easier questions. So it's on you. It's not really on a particular, whether it is IMS mock or the official. I'm taking my NMAT on 10th November. How should I go about scheduling my mocks of both NMAT and CAT? 10 November, right? So we have roughly a month. You will have to prioritize NMAT mocks. I'm finishing all 10 mocks prior to the actual test. So I'll take one mock every 3 days, and then one mock every 3 days for CAT also. So, okay. All right. So I think I've answered most of the questions. Of course, this is a YouTube live session, so it will stay on YouTube. If you have any questions, you can put it as a comment, and I will try and answer that question at the earliest. There will also be a formal analysis video that will release mostly tomorrow. You can ask your questions there as well. And I'm going to write a blog post comparing the NMAT official mock one. How did I perform on that? And then how drawing parallels between that and the actual test. And then talk about my test experience more. Okay. Maybe taking last few more questions. Do I need to apply separately for NMIMS campus other than Mumbai? It's the same form. So you have to give your preferences. Okay. So if you're applied to NMIMS Mumbai, in that form itself, you can add more preferences, right? So have a look at the form filling guideline video. Is there a countdown timer on the screen for the remaining time in NMAT? Yes, that is how it is in the official mock also. You have that. Cutoff for XIM through NMAT. I don't recall it, unfortunately, but we will put it out there somewhere so that you can access it. Your official mock score. My official mock score was 305. And actual score, we don't know. When can we read your blog? I'm going to put it mostly tonight. You should be able to see it in IMS tomorrow. We'll also share the link on the Telegram group. Okay. Is there negative marking for wrong answer? There's no negative marking per se, but your score will dip if you are getting a lot of questions wrong. Okay. My quant is not strong, so what should I do? I'm not able to balance my grad prep and CAT NMAT exam prep. Okay. So see, with respect to, I'll just take you back to that slide on quant. I would say that you focus on the areas that will give you the maximum return on investment. So DI, for example. Now DI, no matter what set you get, it is bar or line or table, it's going to be calculations. Okay. So what you will definitely have to work on is your calculation speed. So your percentages, reciprocals, you have to know that. I mean, you have to know 1/7. You have to know what is 3/7. Those kind of things. Converting percentages to fraction to percentages. I will do that. So if I focus on percentage, as you can see, 2 DI sets will be taken care of. 4 questions that appeared on percentage. It could be 3 for you or 2 for you, but that will also get taken care of. Percentages has application in SICI, time and work, and so on. So let me focus on the major topics, right? I have to do probability, I have to do P&C, I have to do logs. I cannot get a good score on the NMAT without doing these topics. So even if I focus exclusively on these topics, because you will not get time, speed, distance, you will not get geometry on the NMAT. They are not there in the syllabus. So if I focus only on these topics, then also I'll be able to get a good score. So I'll prioritize and do only these topics. I hope Nidhi have answered your question. Okay. Aniket suggests strategies for 65 days if you're scoring around 200. So again, 65 days, so a lot of time, one mock every week, I would say. And then working on the areas where you are not doing well. For somebody, it could be critical reasoning. For somebody, it could be math. For somebody, it could be vocab. And then practicing more questions. Right? See, NMAT is ultimately a speed of test. You have to make quick decisions. It's your speed of solving, but also speed of making decisions. So I had to decide today that for a particular input-output set, I will not be able to crack it in that time. I tried a couple of approaches. It didn't work. I had to take shots, right? So making those quick decisions is also something that you will have to learn. Okay. I have scheduled my NMAT on 12 December. How should I plan my prep after CAT? Don't wait for CAT to get over. I would say a few mocks, right? If you're taking NMAT after CAT, I would say prior to CAT, take at least 3 to 4 mocks so that you know how the format works, how the adaptive nature is, right? And then keep about 5 to 6 mocks post CAT before you take the actual attempt. After completing step 2 in NMAT registration, is there any step to be filled? You apply for NMAT, then you complete your NMIMS application by paying 2,600 rupees. And once you get that confirmation, you're done. Today I've registered for NMAT, and today last date for NMIMS registration. I scheduled NMAT for December 9th. Okay, again, simplifying it. NMAT registration is the first step. Once you register for NMAT, you have to complete NMIMS registration. And for that, last date is today. And for slot booking, the last date is 12th October, which is day after tomorrow. So you have to book your slot prior to 12th October. Okay. In today's slot, there were no questions from syllogisms. No, there were. Right? As I mentioned, there were 2 questions on syllogisms. It appears in the logical reasoning section. Can we get more mocks on IMS portal? As I mentioned, we don't have any plans to add mocks. To be honest, 10 mocks is more than enough. Right? If you use it in the way in which you're supposed to use it, it's more than enough. 10 plus 2 official mocks that you get, which are free. Right? It's definitely more than sufficient. The first few mocks, maybe you don't score well, but once you get used to the format, you will adapt to it. Got 216 in first mock, 236 in second mock of IMS. That's good. I would say that's a decent improvement. Continue to prepare the way you have been, and I hope your score will further improve. All right. I think we'll have to stop now because we had planned for 45 minutes of session. So we're almost there. As I said, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. There are 2 ways in which you can do that. There will be an official analysis video released tomorrow, which is like a very short version of this. And then I'm going to write a blog post. That is the best way to reach out to me. I have a blog that I maintain, and you can reach out to me through that blog. Okay, we'll share that link with all of you through Telegram, and we'll put it on the my IMS dashboard as well. Okay. All right, so I think I'll wrap up the session here. Thanks everyone for joining. I wish all of you all the best. Those of you already taken the test, hope you had a decent score. We'll wait for them to fix that score issue, and hopefully we'll get the actual score. But for people who are going to take it in the future, wish all of you all the best. Reach out to us or to the mentors that you have. Don't hesitate. We're there to help. So whenever you have any doubts, reach out to us. Okay. Thanks everyone. Wish all of you all the best.